Hey guys, Mustached Tom here to review Invincible Season 2. Now this is going to be the full review of Invincible Season 2. For those of you unaware, when Invincible Season 2 was first coming out, I had already made a video regarding my immediate concerns, especially after the premiere, and episode 2, I believe, is what had came out at that point in juncture of me making said review. With that said, the rest of Invincible came out after a break in between a certain section of episodes, and this certain section of episodes. Now, I'm not sure if that had to do anything with the writer's strike, among the many of things that have come into the fray of things, but I digress. I am not going to allow that to defer, or deter rather, my thoughts, and still reviewing this as objectively as possible. Now, as I had already mentioned, Invincible, the first section of it, was already having issues. And just as I predicted, and as I continued to watch Invincible Season 2, every worry I had initially came to pass. I was substantially worried, considering that Season 1 already had this issue with pacing. That being that the characters, especially in Season 1, had full journey arcs in the span of a few episodes, and that led them with nowhere left to go. That being of Robot of Season 1. His character arc was done in Season 1, and that much is so much more apparent in Season 2, as he is now relegated to helping the monster girl that he has a crush on. He has been relegated to a helper rather than someone who still needs to learn and grow themselves. And the issues don't stop there. They already had an issue in the opening with them opening up the possibility of several universes where in them, Mark and Omni-Man were all considered bad in each universe. And apparently, according to the villain, whose name I don't even remember, that's how unforgettable he is, due to everything, this comes to the forefront of every issue that proceeds in this season, as I had initially thought it would. In fact, it's so much worse than I thought it would be, making what I'm going to say now, I haven't seen other reviews of Invincible Season 2 yet, but I fear as if this will be a symptom of spectacle over substance, that meaning that everything's super flashy, and that takes precedent over character development, character growth, and character moments in general. And that seems to be pretty consistent with both Invincible Seasons 1 and 2 now. And the villain, or at least one of the villains that we follow, seems to be a prime example of this, and I'll dive deep into how broken this character becomes by the season finale. Of course, we can't just have one antagonist. We still have other Viltrumites. This one female Viltrumite trying to act more as a liaison of sorts, or trying to resolve things peacefully, as it were. And she doesn't get the answers that she wants, making Mark step up in the way that he is known to do. And what takes precedent over that seems to be the continued relationship with Mark and Ember. Now, they had already had issues in Season 1, that being the late reveal and Amber's reaction to said late reveal of Invincible's true identity, being Mark. And that had caused plenty of issues already in Season 1. Now, I'll be frank, they had an opportunity to fix that. They did. They had an opportunity right here in Season 2 to fix their mistakes. And you know what they did? They flaked out. They skimped out. They had the moment where said Viltrumite woman takes hold of Ember, threatens her, and now Ember's in a situation herself where her very own life is on the line. She knows her life is on the line, and Mark is right there next to her and this Viltrumite that is threatening her. And after said threat is gone, she doesn't even be like, I get it now. She doesn't have that moment. Are you kidding me? That was the moment to fix Ember as a character. That was it. And instead she goes on about, like, how she feels unworthy. What is this? Why not have her reflect on the things that she ought to be reflecting upon? That just seems like the wiser decision. But no, instead they have her go down this very different path that seems to obfuscate her issues in Season 1 and have them remain as issues in now Season 2. And their relationship seems to be as a sacrificial lamb to that area. And there's this part where Mark ends up in some alternate future because now time travel and other alternate universes are in play. He meets with a future version of Eve who says previous Eve or her Eve is in love. How would she know unless she also had feelings for her Mark? Question mark? I don't know. Because God forbid we develop that any further. Because we have no time. There's no time to develop anything. Because the pacing in this season is shit. It is so shit. It's so much shittier than Season 1. And Season 1 was already bad. And this is even worse. As I mentioned previously. So, yeah. Not only do they fuck up with Amber, which I'm not even surprised happens again. As I mentioned previously, the main villain that we are, or main, I guess more so antagonist so far, seems to also be completely ruined. Introduced in Season 2 and ruined by Season 2. Phenomenal. That just, I don't know how else to prove that the writing in this show is absolute shit. So, let's break this down, right? So, this is a guy who, when Invincible initially showed up, ruined his whole shtick, killed a bunch of his people, and he went to a bunch of, and he got all messed up in the way that he is. However, in that process, he gallivanted across different worlds and became notified in the way that all these other Marks had joined their fathers in this conquest to take over Earth, or equivalent Earth, or whatever. At any rate, so he is, for all from his perspective, he thinks he's the hero, which is an interesting arc for a villain to go on, a villain who thinks he's the hero. That's all fine and good, right? I can appreciate that. That's good writing thus far. However, he completely vanishes from the show. like after episode 2 or whatever, he's gone after his little season opener, and all the other arcs and all the other characters have their moments, and it's like he completely vanishes from the show, only to finally show up in the season finale, and now we are dropped in with his new perspective, or continued perspective, that he must kill this Mark, because he assumes, based on the previous events, that this Mark will also fall in line with the other Marks, and he's getting all these visions of all the other Marks and the evils that they have done and have perpetrated. But he goes on the attack. He goes to Mark's home, threatens the best character in the series, still in Season 2, Mark's mom. She is still the best character. I'm not even going to debate that. She just is. She has the hardest job in this entire thing, and that's being someone who clearly is suffering in the, the wake of this whole thing going down. That is a quite tough ask to add, but, they do have an extremely talented actress to pull that off. So, in combination with that, and her writing being as consistent that it is, at least in Season 2, I can say she remains undamaged. With an asterisk. And that's going to come later. But, now we have Bad Guy, whose name, again, I don't remember, threatening her, and she keeps on going on clearly about how Mark is the good guy here, and how, and then Mark inevitably also ends up there, and he touts about how he's, not going to take over Earth, he's the good guy as well, and then, out of nowhere, this guy just totally flips on his entire perspective, because now he's been told explicitly by two different people, Mark, who I guess, fair enough, he might not believe Mark, but Mark's mom, that is a completely different story, because we get told by him that the wife joined them and other things, but we don't see that, so I don't believe him since we don't see it. It's just told to us. The old vintage tale of show don't tell. I hate being the person to use that because I am in favor of visual storytelling. I know how important that is. But there are times where you got to say the thing that is very direct. Sometimes you have to tell. I'm just saying, like, that quote isn't always as tight as one thinks it is, especially when it comes to writing a show. It's a bit more complicated than show, don't tell. But in this instance, I feel like this is very apt, because we have no clue what he's referring to in this instance. So showing us what he's referring to would at least allow us to go, oh, that's why he wouldn't believe, this other character. Instead, we just get told from his perspective that she's just evil or whatever. Or perceived to be evil. So she must be there in this world evil too, which again, for a guy that's so smart, that seems like one of the stupidest conclusions to come to. And even Mark points out his contradiction of that he just hates that of all the worlds that he has visited, that he's just jealous now that in the world that he ended up in, that he's the villain, and how this guy, how Mark here is the good guy, the only one apparently that's the good guy. And I'm like, but you didn't even talk about it. You just continued fighting. You obfuscated the writing here once again. because you wanted a payoff that was more spectacle than anything else, and of course it ended in a bloodbath, because that's the spectacle, and that's what everyone's falling for, or what I suspect people are falling for. But I'm not. I see right through the bullshit. And it gets even worse, because the main bad guy isn't the only one to suffer the consequences of this sort of fast-paced, rushing behavior of Season 2. Take, for example, the gay best friend, whose name I also don't remember because that is how forgettable this character already is to me. That is sad. Here's the thing, right? Let me break this down. Hazbin Hotel, I've heard the criticisms plenty of times. Pacing issue. Everyone who has criticized both seasons, or, the season of Hazbin Hotel, because it's still on Season 1 for that. But the pacing of Hazbin Hotel is super rushed. But there's an asterisk to that, too. There is a counter to that, too. And I have had it this whole time. You see, for the amount of rushing that I actually do agree with, the character work that follows the pacing is phenomenal. It is beyond what this show is capable of doing. At least I can tell you one of the antagonists' name is Val, for example. I know he's an asshole, but I can tell you his name. I can recall what he looks like. He's the pimp-looking one that also has the moth sort of vibe going on. So yeah, I can tell you about that character. I could tell you he abuses Angel. I could tell you a bunch of other things about the character, so on and so forth. And that's because the writing in Hazbin Hotel, despite being quickly paced, follows up with some of the tightest writing that comes with that fast pace, so it matches up. The pacing is no longer an issue. That's why I try to not just lazily criticize pacing alone. I want to dive deeper into what, in combination with pacing, is typically the issue. And here, with Invincible, is what is allowing me to do expressly that, is to sort of unpack why that the issue of pacing is so important, especially considering that Invincible, in this case, has an even bigger cast than Hazbin Hotel. Look at every character on this poster. Look how many characters we have to follow, because every single person on this poster is in Season 2. Every single one of them. That is a lot of characters to keep track of. And boy oh boy, can I tell you some of their names. Not all of them, some of them. So we have, on the left, we have Mark and Mark's mom, and then we have the smart guy on the lower left. Above Mark's mom is some clone guy whose name I also don't know. We have another version of Rex to his right. Above that we have Cecil. Above him we have Ant guy? I don't know. And then next to Cecil, to the right of Cecil, is his ally guy who goes through this whole robot arc in this, and how he chose to repeat himself or whatever. And then beneath him is that character is oh god, I don't remember his name either. We have above him we have the cloning girl. We have two of them, in fact. We have Monster Girl in the upper right. We have Gay Best Friend. We have Eve on the right there. We have Mark's alien friend to the right as well. We have the robot named Robot, I think that's his name. And yeah, so I think I got some of them, right? So yeah, all these characters have all these different sticks going on, and like there's this whole other side plot about the gay best friend and how they got his boyfriend back, but the boyfriend's like a robot now. But he has like the memories of what he used to have, and like it's sort of like dipping into the expressions of like not being one's true self, or like outer body experience, or whatever you want to call it. This was much more delved into in Soma, for example, is what I'm trying to get at here. Of, are you still you if you have a certain selection of memories, seems to be. And they dip their toes into it a little bit here at some point in season 2. God forbid, I don't think they'll probably be able to track that well, considering all the other shit going on in this show. But yeah, I can say with certainty that, boy, there is still a lot of other issues that I have with this. So, we have some non-characters. Mark's younger brother now being a just baby still, but the baby like grows older quicker, whatever. Stuff like that. And yeah, there's not much else to say other than I'm shocked that this spectacle likely has won people over. I think it really has, and it's a shame. Because as someone who's written their own book, filled with their own group of superheroes, I'm not even gonna deny it. I'm jealous that the creator, Robert Kirkman, gets to get away with this lazy as fuck writing, and he gets the cash the checks and get away with this lazy as fucking shit in season 2. I'm jealous that this guy gets to ignore all of everything I just said and goes, I don't really care. He seems like that type. I don't know. From interviews I've seen, he seems to be a guy that's more interested in having a twist for twist's sake, and that's coming from someone who used to believe that he was responsible for one of the best horror deaths in all of horror history, that being, spoiler alert, the death of Glenn from The Walking Dead. And I still believe that, because it is one of the most bone-chilling decisions that followed very closely with the comics. It still follows one of the best characters, and to sacrifice a character that was so beloved for that long, that takes guts. I won't even deny it. That does take a level of guts that I applaud the creators for, to fulfill that thing, despite how much it ruined their audience, because audiences actually left for the opposing reasons. They were so invested that they left out of anger instead of leaving out of frustration, in the sense of the characters are just boring, or the characters are just, or the show is just boring and not well written. And here we are with a show that's not well written, as far as I can tell, so far from both seasons 1 and 2. And it seems like we're going to get more Invincible, probably, because I think people are just eating it up, spectacle over writing quality, and it's a shame. Again, as someone who wrote their own group of superheroes, Syndicate X, I humbly believe, even my first publication of that book, I called it awful, because it has spelling mistakes and all that sorts of stuff. And yet, even with said spelling mistakes and some of the, the details of the world not being as well thought as I have rewritten them to be as of recently, even I still think that my characters are way more interesting than any of these characters are. And it's a shame that no one except the people that I'm running this D&D, these two different Dungeons and Dragons groups, even know about these characters, because they're the ones that I'm exploring them with, and no one else knows because my book didn't sell well at all. And it's such a shame, because I've heard that the comic book of Invincible is actually really good. But after watching both seasons 1 and 2, I'm already in doubt of that too. I'm starting to doubt if the comic book of Invincible is any good. I don't even want to check it out. I don't think it's gonna I don't think it's gonna change my opinion of how awful this, this writing is here. And yeah, they can try to jangle the keys, and boy, do they not even know how to jangle keys correctly, too. So let me break this one down for you, in case you didn't think that they couldn't fuck over anything else. So they have a moment where Invincible, as I mentioned, is skipping dimensions, doing all this crap. He ends up back in this dinosaur land where dinosaurs can talk, and that's all whatever. But then, at some juncture, they make a Walking Dead reference with the zombies can say brains, so that's their little thing. So fine. All those are fine. But there's an asterisk there as well. Because lo and behold, there is a reference to Batman. But of course, with that being DC, they can't show Batman because, of reasons. And, considering how far Batman has been shit on by its own universe, you would think that someone on the outside would have a little bit of tact, considering what has transpired recently. Fuck that, I guess, too. Fuck me, because we have Mark saying, oh, you're like dressed like a bat or whatever, and he's like, what's wrong with you? And he, like, what are you doing? You had a moment where you had, even if it was just the cape and the back silhouette of Batman, you had an opportunity to pay respects to Batman, a legacy character, a legacy that came far beyond yours, and you trashed all over it too. For what? Because you thought you were better? Because you thought you could get away with it? What was your excuse? I wouldn't do that as someone who's writing Syndicate X. Like, the reason I challenge certain superheroes is because I respect them. I respect and looked up to these heroes. That's why I call them out specifically. As, as an altered persona, excuse me. That's because it comes out of place out of respect. Respect of what's come before. But this one moment they had to show a thing that came before you, and you couldn't even show it any dignity, any sign of respect, considering everything that's happened with the DC. That is a slap to the face, is what that is. Like, I would feel responsible. Like, if Syndicate X were super famous right now, if I had seen this, I'd be like, Syndicate X versus Invincible, let's fucking go. I'm calling you out, Robert Kirkman. I don't give a fuck. I'm calling out Invincible. I would want the crossover right now, and I would want to see if you can even pay respects to a crossover, because I don't think you can. I don't think he has it in him to do a crossover. So challenge is on. Right here, right now. at Robert Kirkman, I challenge you. That's right. Of course, I'm a small YouTuber, so I can get away with doing this again. But I'm doing it as me. I'm not putting on the persona. I'm challenging you because you've shown a lack of respect, and I want to show you what it takes to mean having respect for your own thing. But you wouldn't give a smaller writer, a smaller creator a chance. I don't think you have that capability in you. Because I already know that a bunch of big YouTubers don't, because they're a bunch of cowards. Straight up. Point blank. I'm not afraid to say that. A bunch of big YouTubers, they're the biggest of cowards. Of course they are. They would only collaborate with people of their size because they'd know that it wouldn't be a detriment to their channel. They wouldn't go out of their way to give a small channel a chance. No way in hell that would happen. I have yet to see it happen here on YouTube. To this day, 2024, YouTube has been around for a few decades now. Or, at least two, I would say, I think. If I'm remembering, 2009 is... I think that's when it was around. Or, started at least popping up on my radar anyway. So yeah, YouTube's been around for a bit, and yet, the cowardice, the absolute cowardice, I know that Robert Kirkman would never step up to this. He would never dare. Because I already know the system. I already know that you hook up with the arms of people you know, people you trust, people that are on your size, on your level, but you never go below. So, Invincible versus Syndicate X, when? I'm calling it out. Robert Kirkman, you've been challenged. As far as this season is concerned, it's a 3 out of 10. This is a shit-written season. This is awful, with its spectacle taking over as just blood and gore, just absolute eviscerates over any character consistency outside of the mom, which I mentioned the asterisk. They have a season little, the little after thing, right? Because after the credits, they have to set up season 3. And boy oh boy, does this have me the most worried about Invincible, because we have Mark's dad being like, I miss my wife, and I'm like, oh no. Please, for the love of God, Robert Kirkman, do not have her forgive him. Fuck off forever if you're going to do that. How would everyone not jump off if that happens? I wouldn't understand it. I wouldn't understand how people would even think to keep following this after something like that, but who knows what the hell they have in store for season 3. It's probably gonna be another mess, though. If any of the writing from seasons 1 and 2 are any indication from this, we'll probably get another shitty season. But by God, could it get worse? It absolutely can, and that having her forgive him would be the absolute just this drops off. This just ends. This is like a 1 out of 10 at this point. This is how would anyone pick this up? How did anyone get into this if that is what happened in the comics? I don't understand. I really hope that they don't do that. But hey, this is frustrating. Because I respect superheroes, and I expect better from superhero stuff, considering I made my own superhero crew that's, unrecognized currently. And to see this just absolutely take spectacle over character is some of the craziest shit I've ever seen. I really am wondering how other people have taken this, if they are just eating it up eating it up, consuming it, just letting it slide. I wonder. I'm curious to see other people's reviews after letting mine be known now. But that is my review, and if you ended up enjoying it, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my petition to help out smaller YouTubers, of course. And second to my PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly, and third to my Discord, where you can join, collab, and chill, and do all that cool stuff for free. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye.